Well, hello everyone. We are live, and as everybody's joining on the call today, we're taking a little detour from our money conversations, our money talks, and we're moving into the mindfulness side of the equation, the health and happiness side of the wealth discussion here at Wealthy Wealthy. And as we're getting started, waiting for people to jump on, just test the chat box as usual and type in where you're calling in from. And I'm really excited today as everyone's joining on. Let us know if you can hear us. But we have Laura here with us today, and she's going to talk to us about the benefits of meditation from a neuroscience background, from a psychological background, from a stress management background. And we're going to delve into what is meditation and why is it so important. I'm a meditator. I used to not be a meditator. I was one that thought there's no way, I'm so busy. Are you crazy? Like, meditation's for those people. Never in a bazillion years could I meditate. So I've changed it full 180 now, that there's barely a day that goes by that I miss meditation. It's that important to me. And that's why I want to bring it to everyone here on the call today. So, see, we have Tita from San Diego, Susan from Racine, Washington, Terry from Houston, Charles from Fort Washington, Maryland, Gary from Jacksonville. You guys keep telling us where you're from. Sounds like you can hear us okay. Say hello, Laura.
Hi. Really excited to be on this call. Thank you so much for inviting me.
All right, as people are continuing to get set up. Montreal. Suzanne's from Montreal. And Laura's from Toronto. She's in Toronto here, and I'm here in Austin, Texas. So we're representing North America. Hi, Kay. Kay De Silva from Austin. I haven't seen you in a while. It's been a long time. We need to get together and grab a coffee. Nancy from West Virginia. Naomi from Hamilton, Montana. You guys are awesome. Thank you for calling in from all over. So again, as we're waiting for people to join, get signed on here, Laura, why don't you just give a little bit of background, who you are, and that way everybody will know who we're talking to.
Absolutely. So I'm here representing Muse Interaxon, and we are a thought-controlled, thought computing technology organization that makes a really amazing headband that I'm actually going to tell you guys all about later in this presentation. And my background is sort of twofold. I come from a psychology background at McGill University, and then in terms of meditation, I actually spent a year traveling in India studying many different modalities of meditation quite in-depthly, and then I came back to Toronto and I began studying mindfulness at the Center for Mindfulness Studies, which is doing some incredible work, creating a lot of amazing research around the field of mindfulness with the integration of meditation. And then I came to Interaxon, actually, and I am a part of our sales team on the performance and wellness side, and I also sort of bounce back and forth between marketing, sales, experience for individuals interested in meditation, and a lot of our educational programming. So I'm coming at this with a keen interest in, how is meditation really, really impacting people's lives?
Awesome. All right, well, I know you have a presentation prepared for us, so let's jump in the presentation and we'll continue some conversation back and forth as we move through the different slides. Does that work for you?
Yeah, sure, that sounds great. Just give me a second here. All right, can you all see the?
We see you great, yes.
Perfect. Let me just make it a bit bigger. All right. So let me just start with the brain. I think it's a really great place to start. We love to say that the brain is the basis of everything. The brain controls our emotions, our functioning, and as you can see here, I'm coming from Canada, so welcome to, I think Suzanne was your name, from Montreal. So we're looking now at the brain from many different perspectives. From my psychological perspective, I'm really interested in the fact that 1 in 5 Canadians, 1 in 5 employees, will have mental health issues this year in our country. And it said, as you can see, that 60 to 90% of doctor visits are linked to stress. People are having huge amounts of, inability to sleep. And so 1 in 9 kids have ADHD, and this is in Canada, but the statistics are very, very similar in the United States. And so my question is, if we know that all of these things are affecting us emotionally, and the brain is the basis of a lot of this emotional reaction, why aren't we looking at what we can do to train our brains more? And so for a long time, we thought that the brain was sort of stagnant, that we couldn't change it. But we've actually discovered quite recently that the brain can change with our experience. So I thought I would start off this presentation. I think it's a really nice lead-in to talking about why meditation is important with a little video about neuroplasticity that's actually going to give you guys through a case study of actually the first study they did in London, England, looking at taxi drivers' brains to see how, because they had to have such a spatial memory of the city, that actually their hippocampus was enlarged. So I'm just going to switch over to that right now.
London's legendary taxi drivers are the Olympic athletes of memory. Navigating the intimidating labyrinth that is central London, they must create an intricate mental map consisting of thousands of streets, landmarks, and locations. University of London scientists studying the shape of memory found ideal subjects right in their own backyard. For 150 years, every new cab driver has had to pass a grueling exam, known to Londoners simply as the knowledge. It takes most hopefuls at least 2 years to master, giving researchers a superb opportunity to look at how the brain adapts when required to retain vast amounts of information.
When somebody gets in your cab, they'll say, take me to so-and-so, it's going to be like that. You've got to know instantly where you're going, which way to be pointed. So there's a lot of retention. You've got to retain a lot of what you know.
Scientists suspected a particular region of the brain called the hippocampus might be the key to the taxi driver's success.
Now, run me to the nearest police station.
If memory depends upon the hippocampus, at the Knowledge Point School, drivers in training surely give this part of their brain a good workout.
Right, give me the name of a restaurant on Pulpit Road with the lady's name. Chutney Mirror. Hereford Road. Where would you give me? Veronica's.
After class, students like Andy Miller take to the streets. Since visual processing occupies more brain activity than all the other senses combined, it is not surprising that direct experience is an essential part of the knowledge training.
You start off learning all the roads. Then you have to learn all the places on every road. With all the routes that you have to do for knowledge, you will possibly do on the map. You have to get that on your bike. In the rain, the cold, the snow. You learn it bit by bit.
But how does the brain retain and order all that information? As the scientists suspected, mastering the knowledge may have a physical impact on the brain itself. Their study concluded that part of the hippocampus was indeed larger than average in these drivers. In fact, the most dramatic differences were seen in the drivers who were on the job the longest.
The hippocampus has a spatial mapping. And what seems to be happening for taxi drivers is that the spatial map is laying down on central London. Laying this down causes the connections to develop and grow and more form, and that makes the hippocampus get bigger. It's almost like you somehow, somewhere up in your brain, you've created enough space to sort of slip this mapping, a little bit of software.
This study suggests that the adult brain can refashion its basic anatomy according to the requirements of its owner. Doctors hope these insights can be used to help restore the minds of stroke victims, Alzheimer's patients, and those suffering brain traumas.
All right. Let me just get out of here.
That was really fun. That's amazing.
Thanks. I thought it was a nice, short but sweet video that kind of gave a little background about the scientific understanding of, relating this back to meditation. If our brains do have the capacity to change, there is a huge application and implication that using focused attention training tools can have on improving your overall well-being. So I think that's a really nice lead-in. Let me just get back to a larger view.
Yeah, and that's a big part of the neuroscience that, like you said earlier, we believed for historically that the brain was fixed. You reach a certain age and it becomes pretty rigid and fixed, and we can't shape it, and we are kind of the way we think, and we're stuck there. And what the latest neuroscience has talked about is showing is that there is this neurogenesis and this neuroplasticity that we can totally be recreating our brains all the time. I also read a statistic here this past week. In fact, I was listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I was looking at because I'm really into mindfulness and meditation and neuroscience these days, because our brain is masterful. It's the one organ that we can actually change through experience and through true, working it, through exercising. It's like muscles. You can actually change your brain like you can change your muscles. But so I was listening to that. I'm very interested in it for that reason. But I was listening to this talk by Joe Dispenza, and I think he was saying that we have like 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. So we have lots of thoughts. But 90% of those thoughts or more are the exact same thoughts every day. So our brain gets stuck. The neural connections get stuck. The grooves, our brains, they're very stuck. So we kind of get stuck in this small world thinking that that's the way the world is, without realizing that through things like meditation and mindfulness that we're going to talk about, we are the owner of our brains, and we can rewrite the owner's manual if we want to.
Absolutely, and in the context of what you're saying, we are having thousands of thoughts all the time, and we're actually we've trained our brains over time to focus on specific thoughts. But what practices like meditation are helping you to do is actually sort of to open that lens and then to change your perspective and to see the world in a new way. There's this amazing positive psychologist I recently saw at one of Deepak Chopra's events. He's a huge advocate of ours, and he's a positive psychologist out of Harvard, and he was talking about, in the context of meditation and positive psychology, how meditation can be used as a tool by which to understand the multiple vantage points that one has in every single situation. So to me, that's kind of linked to what you were saying in the context of there's all this stuff happening, but we kind of narrow our lens. And so how can we use tools like meditation to open up that lens and see what the infinite possibilities are for us in every moment?
Absolutely. All right, continue.
Great. So that's a really lovely lead-in. Oh, right, I have to. Sorry, not very good at navigating this. Okay. All right, so that's a really, really nice lead-in, I think, to this next slide, which is Martin Seligman's sort of 5 components to well-being. So the fact that we know that the brain is so important now to our well-being, we recognize that there's a need to take action towards this idea of total wellness. So the mind and the body are intricately connected. You can't have a fit body without a fit mind, and inversely, you can't have a fit mind without a fit body. So I really love the way he lays this out, the idea of PERMA. So positive emotions being like the idea of positive psychology, focusing on the positive, which in a lot of ways is a choice, the idea that there's a choice to see the silver lining, and really redirecting your vision towards that, whatever that might be. And then engagement, and that's finding your flow. So in a more concrete term, that would mean finding something that entirely absorbs you, in the present moment. So things in your life that you find, when you're working on them, you're really, really engaged, because that's really great for strengthening the mind. And then there's relationships, and I think we all know the value of relationships now. It's hugely important, and for me that represents, and for Dr. Seligman, authentic connection. And then there's meaning. So we want to give back. We're all here. We are looking for our purpose, so really finding meaning in every moment, if possible. And lastly, achievement. And so I think that I love the idea of achievement, but for me, I don't know if that's the right word. So for me, it's more about intention. So it's the idea of setting, some might say goals, or setting these intentions of things you want to achieve, and so that you have a direction, you have something to focus on in the moment, so that as you are in the moment, you can see the signs that are going to bring these things into being, and improve your overall well-being. And so many of you might have seen this before. It's kind of floating around the mindfulness community, but the idea of being mindful or being mindful. Mm-hmm. And I love that little diagram, because it's a perfect lead-in to this, huge discussion about why there's been a mindfulness revolution. It's everywhere now. I've just been invited to like 4 different conferences in the next month around mindfulness. There's mindfulness in schools, which is so wonderful that we're starting to see the value in helping kids to be with themselves, to practice focused attention, because we now know that some of the benefits of mindfulness and meditation practices are, attention, as well as productivity, communication, and I'll get into that a little more. Meditation in the workplace. Think about how many corporate workplace wellness programs have arisen, and I think what an amazing and important way to engage employees at work and improve happiness at work. So for those of you who are out there who maybe you're like, oh, this sounds great, but what is meditation and what is mindfulness? I thought I'd just give this basic slide. And so meditation is actually the practice and the tool by which to become more mindful. So as it says, meditation, it's a practice. It's a training that cultivates healthy and positive mind states. And meditation is the act of maintaining this sort of non-judgmental, moment-by-moment awareness of our thoughts and feelings, bodily sensations, and surroundings. So in another way to put that is, taking a moment, maybe right now, we could just try this. If everybody wants to just sort of close their eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose, and a long exhale. And just begin to become aware of the sounds that are happening in whichever environment you might find yourself in. Allowing yourself to listen. Now I'm going to ask you to take another inhale. And on the exhale, start to bring your attention inward and become aware of any thoughts you might be having. And now I'm going to invite you to bring your awareness into your lower abdomen and just take an inhale, feeling the rise of your belly and the contraction on the exhale. And just noticing any sensations that arise. And then lastly, I'm going to invite you to try and expand your awareness to your entire body. So opening up the possibility to feel where you might have any tension in your body. And just trying to move your awareness from, let's say, the shoulder down to your right toe, And then inhaling to your lower abdomen once again, feeling the rise on the inhale and the fall on the exhale. And then becoming aware once again of the sounds in your surrounding. And you can open your eyes. So thank you for joining me in that if you felt able to. That was kind of spontaneous. I didn't intend to do that, but I felt, instead of explaining mindfulness, that's a nice way to engage with it. It's sort of an abbreviation of a mindfulness technique called the 3-minute breathing space. And it's really there to try to help you to become aware that in each moment there's a lot going on. And if you are able to bring yourself into the moment, into the present, sort of what we were talking about earlier, you can expand that lens. So just moving forward, but sort of circling back to what we were talking about earlier, this
real quick, Laura. It's hopefully if everybody followed and tried that, to really think about the sensation of I'm guessing that for most everyone, and y'all might even put that in the chat box, is how did you feel? Like, did you have a moment where you felt a little bit of the stress fall away, fall off? Did you feel a little bit more at peace? Or maybe the opposite also. Sometimes it can trigger other emotions. But I really do like to check in with the sensation, because sometimes, to your point, it just takes a 3-minute breathing exercise, which is very meditative, and that it can be meditation, just to come back to mindfulness. Like, really busy, crazy day, screaming clients, screaming kids, bunch of breakdowns, and we all have days like that, and sometimes it's many days in a row. But if we can, when that happens, if we can go find a space for 3 minutes, it can totally change our physiology.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting that. I wasn't quite sure how to ask because I can't see the response.
Right.
But really good to check in. And yeah, if you guys can type, I would love to hear your thoughts around that. It was really quick. It wasn't even 3 minutes. But I just wanted to, I think experience allows people to understand a lot better than just sort of rhetoric and talking.
Exactly. Great.
So let me just switch back again. So just to give a little more context, a little more validation, because that could seem like, oh, that's lovely, but how is that going to affect my life? So meditation is a technique that has now been validated in thousands of journals, including the Harvard Medical School, that has done many studies now, actually, and one with Muse, which I'll talk about later. But showing that meditation allows for the ability to screen out distractions and increase productivity. And then there's the Mayo Clinic, another leading institution right now, especially in the context of mindfulness and meditation, showing that meditation increases self-awareness and can reduce negative emotions. So really amazing things that we're discovering from a more sort of real scientific perspective. For those of you out there who are interested, one thing that scientific research is showing is that meditation increases the gray matter in our brains, and so that's responsible for muscle control, hearing, emotions, decision-making, self-regulation. So pretty amazing. And actually specifically relating back to that initial video in the hippocampus, so it's showing an increase in gray matter within the hippocampus. So looking at things like Alzheimer's, there's a lot of interesting things to look at, and hopefully more research to come out, because that's the center of memory.
Yeah, and you don't need to,
so
you can stay on the slides. Just real quick insert here is I'm so glad you're showing this, because a lot, most of the people on the call, they're high achievers, they're busy professionals, they're top performers, and there's so many that are very successful that are still a little bit like, is this meditation thing a little woo-woo, or is it kind of BS, and is it just a fad? And so that's why I'm really glad you're sharing this, is these top medical institutions and researchers and science, and based on MRIs and being able to see how the brain lights up. There is all this imperial-based evidence now, like, no, really, meditation and mindfulness changes the brain. It impacts the body. It works with helps the nervous system move from sympathetic to more parasympathetic. And now we can prove that this meditation practice has been around for centuries, actually has real life benefits.
Absolutely. And actually, that's a perfect lead into the next slide, which are the real life benefits, especially for people who are, in high stress jobs, super busy lives, because what meditation is showing are all these things, but, I'll go through some of them that I think are really important. One is communication, the ability to enhance your cognitive skills, your ability to focus, your memory, your attention, and the interpersonal skills, that comes into play when you actually train your brain toward focus, towards being attentive, because really what that's doing is it's allowing you naturally to be more present. So kind of similar to the experience I took you through, imagine if in every moment of your life you were able to open that lens and to perceive, way more than you're used to, so that you can understand the interactions you're having with others and improve your communication, improve your relationships, improve your assertiveness, your decision-making capacity. And really important, team development in terms of the context of work. Why so many corporations are incorporating mindfulness and meditation is because the fact that it's training you to be more aware, to be more focused and present, gives you awareness of others. So how to more effectively work with others. And then one last thing that I think is really important, and actually most of the research is on, is stress reduction. And looking at anxiety, depression, that's actually specifically with regards to Muse, which you'll see the little photo and coming up. We've recently done a study that really shows that meditation, and specifically breath-focused meditation, can significantly reduce somatic symptoms associated with anxiety and depression. So we can move through. So why, now that we know all of these benefits, why don't people meditate is a question that sort of sparked actually our whole organization. Is, it's just so clear, so why aren't people doing it? And so we've outlined some of the reasons. One, a lot of people are, well, what is it? Two is, how do I do it? Three is, am I doing it right? And then there's some other ones, like, I don't have time, I can't clear my mind, I have monkey brain, and I'm not spiritual. So we feel that this technology that we've developed, called the Muse, that I'm about to introduce you to, is really an answer to all of these questions.
Yeah, and so let's talk about a couple different things, but I really would like to go a little bit deeper. Is even the barriers to meditation. What I've found, even from my own personal experience, is that number one, I started with the meditation thing is woo-woo. I mean, because I'm very much a pragmatist, very much left brain performance, based, sort of linear, black and white. So that's my personality. So then the science started convincing me otherwise. Like, oh, okay, it's not so woo-woo. But then I'm such a busy professional, like most people are, and you factor that in. I thought, oh, well, I don't have time for it. Like, really, that's great. But, and then I realized such the benefits, and I've experienced the benefits. So then it's this realization of, just like exercise, part of meditation, for me personally, is that I exercise, and I don't always feel like exercising. In fact, the most of the time I don't feel like exercising. But I know the benefits of it, and even the opposite, the consequences of not doing it. So exercise is just a practice in my life, because my body needs to be strong and healthy, and I need to exercise my muscles, and it's just a component, a requirement of being healthy. I mean, whether we like it or not. So it's designing my life in a way that incorporates exercise. And with meditation, it's been very much the same now. It's like, to me, through my own studies, I've learned that it really is exercise for the mind. And the benefits are the sort of the symptomatic benefits are those things you've described, but there's so much more even underneath that. And you, since you've gone to India, and you're a far, more a practiced meditator than I, just based on your background. So I'm curious, from your own anecdotal, experiential experience, I guess, is when you start meditating, great, it does lower anxiety, and it can help manage stress, and it has all these physiological benefits. But underneath that, what's even, I think, more important is these, and I know the neural pathways, and I have better memory, and all these other things, but through the exercise in the mind, there's almost like a euphoria to it, like a runner's high that you get if you're a runner, or the workout's really hard, but you feel so great afterwards. And so it's almost indescribable in a sense that as you meditate and you have this practice of being able to kind of controlling your mind, that the mind, the mind wanders as it does, but then you're like, oh, my mind is wandering. I just come back to my mantra or to my breathing or to the birds or whatever it is. It's just knowing I have control and I can work my mind, and I own my mind doesn't own me. And it gives a whole different level of confidence and overall sense of well-being, and like you said, connectivity and this ability, like the skill, the ability, it's like strong muscles. It's the brain muscle of being able to be present. Like you can really control your distractibility. Like we get distracted. So today more than ever in this 24/7 environment, there used to be weekends back in the day, and life used to be quieter, and we didn't have these notifications on our phones 24/7, and life really was simpler. So because there were gaps, life itself was a little bit more meditative, whether it was a practice or not. It just offered time where you just be out camping in nature and it was meditative. But in this time of life, more than ever, if we don't meditate, just like I believe, if we don't exercise, it's pretty much impossible to have a healthy mind. Would you agree, like from your own experience and then your own beliefs based on your own experience?
Absolutely. And, I think that meditation can come in many forms. And it's super important to find what works for you. But more than anything, it's about taking those moments to be with yourself, to reflect inward, and to recognize, exactly like you said, that you are not your mind. So yes. Sort of like, like your thoughts are the tools, but you work the wood, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's what the meditation practice does. It allows you to experience this concept that we're not our thoughts. It's really hard to know what that means conceptually when we say it until you experience it. And then you do realize, like, oh, all these random thoughts happen, and they're just thoughts. I'm separate from my thoughts. And then you can work those, control them, see them, observe them, be one with them, and emotions too. That it's sort of a separation from thoughts and almost a separation from emotions. That we can feel our emotions or observe them and be present and be one with them. And learning part of the sort of the philosophy behind meditation is that be with your emotions, but don't judge them. So if you're feeling sad, be sad. Just like, why am I sad? Versus, oh, I shouldn't be sad. Or if I'm angry, life is frustrating. Things happen, and just being able to sit with the frustration and be like, yeah, I'm frustrated. What really sort of pokes the bear, and what's getting to me, and that's okay. But it's even being able to be observer in our emotions, so we can be less reactive. We can be more in control of our thoughts. We can be more in control of our emotions. We can just be present with them without having a need to judge them or judge ourselves. So there's all this, really, to me, the beauty, the depth, the importance, the magic of meditation is all that underneath these sort of the physiological, not superficial benefits. I mean, they're real, and and they help us be healthier, but there's a whole body of amazing underneath that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you said it, but I think something that really hit home for me when I was in India was seeing a lecture, and someone just said, like, you are the observer of your mind. Mm-hmm. And we practiced that. So the idea that in meditation, you become aware that you're thinking. And who's that person that is actually hearing those thoughts that you're having? And I think recognizing that there's that step that your thoughts are not you, but there is something or someone there that can observe those thoughts. And as you said, non-judgmentally, that's in the definition of mindfulness itself. Just to be able to recognize that you are the witness of them is really, really empowering. To recognize that you also can begin to train your brain, and in the Muse we call that a recovery, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but the idea that when you have a thought and you are aware that you are having it, there's a choice. There's a choice to follow it, and that's okay, but there's also a choice to come back. To come back to the breath, as you said, to come back to the mantra, to come back to your experience. So I love anecdotes I think are really helpful. So I give the one about, being at work, and you're in a meeting, and you're talking, and then you say something that you didn't mean to say, and then it goes on to someone else, and you're sitting there the rest of the meeting going like, shit, what do I do? Like, how do I recover from this? And you're missing the rest of the very important meeting. And that's often anxiety, and that often happens to us in just regular moments of our day where we let our minds take control of us, and we believe we're like victim to our minds. But the idea is with meditation is it helps you to go, okay, I'm going to come back to that later, but for now I'm going to come back to the present so I can be present in this meeting, and so I can contribute in the way that I want to.
Absolutely, exactly. That's such a good example, and that happens to all of us. And don't you hate that too? When I realize like I'm stuck in my head with something like that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've missed like almost all of this. And then you get to the point where you can laugh at yourself when you start noticing these things. And it's, I laugh at myself all the time. Like, there I go again. How funny! Like, really, I think I'm good at this. And we're just so human. And you said another word too that I think there's a couple words I think in today's age that are really important, and the practice of meditation is a tool to help us reach these places that are otherwise difficult to get to. One is presence, and there's words like flow and presence, and we're not very present these days. We're distracted, we're multitasking. If we're trying to have a conversation, we're on our phone at the same time. We're just not present. We're not fully present. And life is in right this moment. You and me right here, right now, being present with one another, not caring about or not paying attention to what's going on in the world around us. And we're missing so much of life because we've lost the art of just being present. You and me here together, everyone on the call, being connected in some way, somehow. Technology is a distraction, and it allows us all this greatness, so we can all be here in this conversation together, somehow connected through the energy and the listening and the talking that's going on. But it's really getting back to that happiness, sadness sometimes too, whatever the emotion is, but relationships, connection happens in the here and now. And if we can't relearn how to be present, we're missing life, and there's a sadness attached to that. There's a tragedy attached to that. So it is focusing on the word presence and learning to be more present. And to me, meditation's really enabled me to be more present in this fast-paced world that's just distractions constantly. Absolutely. Another piece that you said is attention. And there's attention deficit disorder, which is a diagnosed issue for kids and adults. But there's attention deficit, even if it's not added disorder. Again, the distractibility. It's really hard to pay attention, to stay focused because of the notifications, pings, distractions. And so we have to learn the skills again of being able to pay attention, which has a lot to do with being present. But I have sort of my own mantra now that the skill of paying attention, the ability to be in attention, I guess, is the new form of currency. Like those that can master the ability to pay attention, to be right here, right now, have a different level of currency that produces so many different, more powerful outcomes than being distracted all the time. And kind of the corollary to that is a mantra that I have is, there's sort of this badge of honor to this busyness. I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. And with that, I could say, I'm so distracted, I'm so distracted, I'm so distracted. Instead of busy, I think we can replace busyness with distracted. And so like busyness has become almost this new form of laziness. It's not a badge of honor. Being busy means we're probably distracted and not present and not in control, more in control of moment to moment. And so what do you have to say about that?
I think that you're absolutely correct. And I also think just from my own experience, I love that you mentioned currency, presence being a currency, because I have noticed in my life so drastically, like the first thing that I noticed when I built the habit of meditation into my everyday was all of a sudden, all of these opportunities were coming into my life. And all of these amazing people were coming into my life. And I attribute that not to luck, but rather to the fact that I was aware enough to notice them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so good.
Maybe they were there before, but I couldn't see them. Mm-hmm. So back to our bit where we started, the idea of opening that lens. Like, there is infinite possibility happening all around you all the time, and opportunities for you to bring amazing things into being in your life. And for me, a lot of people talk about manifestation. Well, for me, that is exactly what we're talking about. It's cultivating presence so that you can then become aware of all the opportunities that are going to bring your intentions or your goals into reality. Mm-hmm. But something that you said that I think is a really cool lead-in to something else I want to talk about is you talked about the fact that, we're so distracted. And so what we tend to do, or what I've noticed at least in my own life, and I can only really speak from that, is that people get so burnt out, they're so distracted, they're so busy, that all of a sudden they're like, I got to go on retreat. Mm. And they take, instead of it being like an everyday practice, they take like a week, they spend a lot of money, they go away from their everyday to find that peace of mind. And often people come back feeling really refreshed. But the idea is, if you even think about the word, and I run retreats as well, so I love them. I just think it's not a good word, and it should be like an add-on, not the answer to people's anxiety and need for nourishment and grounding. But people escape their daily lives effectively, often, and come back feeling so refreshed. And then when a few weeks go by, and they haven't incorporated and integrated the approaches that they may have learned on retreat into their life, they find that they're like, oh yeah, that was me on retreat. That's not who I am. And the thing is that's not sustainable. And this is where there's a really interesting conversation to be had, I think, about technology, because one of the problems, back to the barriers to meditation that people have with these approaches is people often think, you need to take an hour to go to a yoga class. You need to take an hour and go to a meditation class with a teacher. And that it has to be, again, I feel, outside of your everyday, outside of your busy life. But the amazing thing about meditation, especially when you bring a technology like Muse into the picture, is it can be intricately embedded into everything that you do, so it does not need to feel other. It doesn't need to feel like it's something extra you have to add to your already busy schedule. So that's what we do at Interaxon. And our whole vision is around humanizing technology and the fact that it isn't going away. So how can we begin to use all of this amazing technology that we have to improve ourselves and to know thyself?
I love that. Well, I'd love for you to share a little bit about Muse, if you don't mind, because I so love Muse. If anybody can see me, I have my Muse headband on. And anybody that's followed me for any time knows I love technology. So I'm a little bit of a tech geek, but not for the sake of being geeky about it, but I like technology that solves problems or makes life easier, makes life better. And so when I stumble across really great tech that makes my life better, I get really excited about it. And so one of the hardest things I know now that I talk a lot about meditation, because clearly I'm such an advocate of meditation and mindfulness for all the different reasons I just suggested. And just a little backstory for me too, that I had a period in 2013 where I got really sick, and part of my recovery out of that sickness was learning meditation. So I'm very deeply committed to meditation as my own personal practice, but also sharing it with others, because it was one of the tools I used to save my life. And so not to be melodramatic about it, but that's really how much this is an integral piece of my current wellness protocol, but what I use to help heal myself and get to the place where I'm now. So with that though, like I like life hit me in the, I always talk about that what happened is the universe sort of took a 2x4 and took me out at my knees, and I just went down. So I'm really passionate about sharing a lot of the lessons and practices I'm in now to keep others from adopting some of these things just to pick oneself up completely from despair versus hopefully not having to reach that stage in the first place. But my whole point of that is that now that I'm talking a lot about meditation, what I hear mostly from those, like, yeah, I get it, I want to do it, but how do I get started? And I just can't, what am I supposed to do? Am I doing it right? Or, man, I just can't find the time. Like, really? Like, how can you do that? So when I stumbled across Muse, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is so awesome, because Muse is a technology that, and all technologies are tools. Shoelaces are tools. You know, it helps us to hold our shoes together. I mean, a technology. And so Muse is a technology to really assist us, anyone that really does want to incorporate this practice. It's a tool to be able to acquire the skill, to be able to acquire the habit, the practice. And what I love about Muse is it makes it simple to know how to get started. It makes it very simple on if you're doing it right, because there's no right or wrong. It just becomes very obvious, especially when you use a tool like Muse. And what I like about Muse is the biofeedback component, so you can really start measuring yourself. And I like that you can take it anywhere with you at any time, and I know you're going to talk about all this. And then the final piece that I really love, for example, using technology and a tool like Muse, especially, for meditation, is it adds this element of fun to it. So when exercise can be fun, like when you go for a walk, a fast walk with a friend or run with a friend, it's just better and easier than going and doing it on your own usually. Same like with this, when meditation can be more of a fun aspect, or it's just easier altogether, it makes it easier to pick it up and do it. So I'm so excited. Everyone listening, I was introduced to Ariel, who's one of the founders of Muse, and to Muse through a good friend of mine whose name is Jim Quick, and he's all about mindfulness, and he teaches memory and mind training. And so I've gotten to know Ariel very well. She spoke at my last conference. She's just a magical, amazing human being. But anyway, stumbling, meeting Ariel and then learning about Muse, and now I use Muse, and all my friends and family use Muse. I'm so excited to share it with everyone. So will you take over from there, since I've clearly gone on long enough?
I wish you didn't have your own wonderful organization, because you're really good. But yes, So I guess for those of you who don't know Muse at all, I'll just maybe start by explaining the experience, because some people might be sitting there like, wait, what? Neurofeedback? What's going on? So essentially Muse is a brain sensing headband. It uses EEG, so electroencephalogram. So for those of you, most of you probably know what that is, age-old technology that senses the electrical impulses in your brain. And then it sends what it senses to an app on your phone. So this is the Muse, and as I said, brain sensing headbands. You can see that it's a 7-sensor system. We've actually created one of the first ever dry sensor systems. So there's rubber conductors behind the ears and across the forehead. So it's totally revolutionary, because for those of you who do know about EEG, it's like $25,000 for a large full cap EEG machine at the hospitals. You need 2 people or 3 people to administer it. So it's really exciting that you guys can just take this home, throw it in your backpack or your purse, and use it yourself. And so after it senses your brainwaves, as I said, it'll translate it to an app. So we have a free app that you can download. So one headband can be used by multiple people. And on the app, you pick a soundtrack of nature. So let's say the ocean, for example, which is one of our 5 currently. And whenever your mind, during the meditation, wanders into a thought, the ocean sounds become a storm. So the idea is you're actually listening to the sounds of your own thoughts in the analogy of the soundtrack you've chosen. And it's there as a cue to let you know that your mind has wandered and to allow you to ease yourself back to the breath. And when you do that, when you come into a deep state of focus, and again, we choose the breath like many of the mindfulness techniques because you cannot experience breathing in the future or the past. You can only experience it as it's happening. So every time you choose to recover, to go from active down to let go of that thought, you come into the present. And that act of recovering over and over, that repeated exposure, like flexing your muscles in your body, that's what's strengthening the neural connections in your brain. So when you come into a deep state of focus, the soundscape becomes very quiet and peaceful. And if you're able to sustain your focus for more than 5 seconds, you start to hear birds. So this is just showing you sort of the comparison between Muse and a clinical grade EEG. Muse is pretty much a clinical grade EEG in terms of its quality and its sensor system, which is amazing. And this is just to show you, for those of you who are unfamiliar with sort of brain waves, this is sort of what Muse is sensing in the brain, different bands that are happening in the brain. So I sort of went through this, although at the end, you'll see it says track and improve. So the cool thing about Muse, it's actually completely personalized to your unique brain, because all of our brains are totally different. And after your meditation, you'll get a graph that actually shows you what percentage of the time you spent actively thinking and what percentage of time you spent in a deep state of focused attention, presence. And again, it'll show you the recoveries, which we reward, and really is the point, because that's when you're doing essentially the work. It's not so much about the active and calm percentage. Those are fun and nice and motivational, but it really is about the recovery. So again, results oriented. And as you mentioned, Christina, which is so nice, is this is really nice because you can actually track your improvement over time. And I think one of the main barriers to meditation, as we said, is, am I doing this right? And as you said, you know, if you are happy thinking and you want to just keep doing what you're doing, that's totally great. And you can actually turn off all of the feedback so that you're not getting that feedback in real time, and you can work out your own process and just see what was happening at the end. So again, you know, we're working with 120 major research institutes, specifically us with the Muse meditation, including Harvard, the Mayo Clinic, University of Toronto, Baycrest Hospital, the list goes on. And we're looking at things like, you know, how meditation with Muse can, you know, decrease physical symptoms associated with anxiety and depression, looking at ADHD. Pain management is a huge one in terms of the research. in meditation and with Muse, traumatic brain injury. So we're really, really excited about how this portable technique that doesn't ask you not to look at your phone, it actually engages your technology in your life to improve your well-being. You know, we're really excited about how we can continue to move into that space. So here's one study that just came out of the University of Toronto and Baycrest Hospital that showed that 10 minutes a day, that's all, of using Muse for 6 weeks in healthy adults significantly decreased physical symptoms associated with anxiety and depression. And a second finding we found that's really, really exciting, we're so happy about it, is also a significant increase in cognitive functioning around decision-making tasks. So it's actually by 50 milliseconds. So for anyone in sports, you're probably sitting there going like, wow, that's really great. So yeah, I'd love for any of you typing at this point, you know, since we're on the Muse feedback, to write any thoughts or questions you have for me. We've had some really incredible feedback so far. We're working with thousands of clinicians along with tons of huge corporations, lots, you know, it is an end user product, so you guys can buy it through our website, and with a discount code you guys should get at the end. Yeah, so, you know, here's some of our reviews on Best Buy Amazon, and there's dozens of verticals, so I'm going to end pretty much after this, but the idea that this kind of technology has so many unbelievable applications, and we have tons of external programmers because we have an open SDK developing experiences for the Muse. So, you know, there's a golf game if you're a visual learner where you can use your focused attention by playing a golf game. And we have a huge community worldwide of Musers, lots of distribution around the world. We have an incredible advisory board with some really big names in mental health. Many of you might know Rudy Tanzi, who's one of the leading researchers at Harvard University. Also Joy Ito from Media Labs, Norm Anderson, who was the former CEO of the American Psychological Association. And we've had tons and tons of press. We recently had an article in the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post. So overall, we're really excited, and you know, we really just want to spread this incredible message that meditation can change your life.
Well, and it can. So if any of you have any questions for Laura regarding meditation in general, regarding the Muse, and really, let me see, let me get here if I can. Andrew, will you do me a favor and pull up the question box again? Is for anyone on the call, if you really do want to acquire, adopt, or practice meditation, at least give it a try, a really good go at it. I highly encourage you to invest in the Muse. My team will put up a link. You get a special coupon code through being on this call that the Muse team was willing to offer, just special for you for being on, for participating and listening in today. So it's a special code. It'll save you, I don't know how much, but it'll save you money as opposed to if you went directly to the Muse website, for example. But I really encourage you to take a look at the Muse, because it's really a few different things about the Muse. It's a headband. It's like this. You take it off, and just like it showed on the graph, and you just simply slide it over, and you give it a snug look. You hook it to your cell phone, and it's Bluetooth. So it's like 5 steps to set it up. So if you don't know anything about technology, like a 3-year-old, I promise, could figure out how to hook up the Muse and get all your phone settings set up. And then really I wanted to give a challenge this month. That's why I'm calling it May Meditation Month. And so the challenge is to meditate for 3 minutes a day for this month. So get a Muse if you think that will really help you. And if you think you can do it on your own, that's fine too. I just really want to encourage everyone, all my listeners, to try it, to try this meditation thing, because just 3 minutes a day, you'll start feeling the benefits of it, and it'll turn automatically. If you just commit to 3 minutes a day for 30 days, it's going to turn to 7 minutes and then 10 minutes and then 15 and you'll just want to do it more. You don't even have to try to convince yourself to increase the time. And Muse makes it so easy and fun because you have your headphones in, and so you have the auditory feedback, the biofeedback, and you can listen to birds, you can check yourself out. It's almost gamified, so day over day you can see how you're doing, track your results, you get little stars and little kudos based on how often and how many birds you hear. So it's a really great, I mean, it's just such an awesome tool that they've created that allows everyone to really easily incorporate this meditation practice. So anyway, Scott says only 3 minutes, it should be 15 minutes. So my meditation practice, I think really the rule of thumb for true meditation practice is at least 20 minutes a day. Transcendental Meditation says 2 20 minutes a day sessions. So ultimately, I think that's sort of the benefits come out of at least 20 minutes a day. But 20 minutes is not impossible, but it is hard for people to jump from 0 to 15 or 0 to 20 minutes. And so if you can start with an easy 3 minutes, then you realize how fast 3 minutes goes, and then you automatically will get up to the 10, 15, 20 eventually, and then even 20 minutes goes by really fast.
I'd love to just note also that you can set the Muse up to an hour.
Oh, wow. I guess I've never gone beyond 20, well, I've gone up to 30 minutes, I guess, but I've never done an hour. That might be my own challenge. So, yeah, let us see if there's any other questions that come in. You guys, I see a lot of you. There's a lot of you still on the call, so please engage and let Laura know if you have any questions, especially with your background. Is there anything you can share about your study in India, or how that experience was?
Yeah, that was it was totally life-changing, I will say, for me, because I will be completely honest and say prior to that I didn't have really any kind of meditation practice. I did a little bit of yoga, and I was interested in sports, but I didn't really know anything about meditation, and I sort of found myself, I didn't go to India for that purpose, but I ended up finding some really amazing teachers, and like what I noticed for me was that I used to get really distracted, and I had a very, very hard time focusing. I went to India after I finished university, and in university I just had such a hard time being present and focusing in class and really speaking the way that I intended and drawing connections between my thoughts. And after even a month in India of meditating, I was doing, for that month, 30 minutes to like 5 hours a day. I noticed such a huge difference in my life. But that's actually, it's a nice transition to when I came home, because I did have a lot of time on my hands when I was there, and I was meditating for extended periods, and I did have a teacher and all these things. And when I came home, I kind of lost touch with the fact that I had the privilege of time and a good teacher. And so when I came home and I told my parents and all my friends, who many of whom were working in banking and really busy and weren't interested in meditation at all, that I was like, this is like the answer to everything in life. They all kind of went, okay, Laura, go back to India. And I was sort of like, what? But they could see in me such a huge change. And even though I was a walking, talking representation of what this had done, it still didn't seem feasible. And at that time, that's when Muse came into the picture for me. And my now colleague sent me a Muse, and I actually got it at home. And immediately my dad, who was like not at all interested, was like, what's that?
Right.
And I was like, oh, it's an app-based meditation headband. And he was like, oh, all right, I'll try that. And that response I started to experience with a lot of the people in my life, and I realized that I could be a part of something that could introduce meditation to all of those people who maybe otherwise think it's not feasible. Because we are used to apps. They're kind of integrated into most of our everyday. And so for me, that's what made meditation with Muse so important. And then I started just doing like 3 minutes a day because I wanted to kind of go back. And I started my family on 3 minutes a day, and up to 15 minutes. And we have a 10-course introductory course to meditation in the app that helps people kind of.
I was going to say that too. So if you get started, it will guide you.
Yeah, and I just noticed such a huge, huge difference in the people around me. And for me, I was sold. I was like, I love this organization, I love what we're doing, and I want to be a part of spreading the message that meditation doesn't have to be hard. I mean, I don't think it's easy. It's an effort when you're in it. It's always an effort to sort of make those choices to come back to the breath, but it can be integrated into your life, and that is really inspiring to me, and I hope to all of you out there as well.
So Melissa says it's Fitbit for meditation.
Yes, we get that a lot.
I love it. Rachel asks, I'd like to hear from both of you. What's your favorite part of meditation?
Do you want to go first?
You go ahead.
Okay. My favorite part about meditation is that it offers me the opportunity to think about the things that I don't let myself think about in my everyday. Because I would find that before meditating, I would be like busy, going throughout my day, and then when I go to lie down at night, it's like, bing, all of a sudden, all of my thoughts would come, and I wanted to think about them because I hadn't given myself the time to do so in the day, so as much as I wanted to sleep, I also wanted to process. And what I love and have seen such a huge change in my life and also my my quality of sleep is giving myself like 5-minute meditation breaks throughout the day has totally changed that. I fall asleep so quickly now, and I still give myself time to process everything.
Yeah, mine actually, it's funny you say that. Mine's very similar. My favorite part of meditation is watching my thoughts. It's because it takes you out of kind of time and space to be able to just be with oneself and see what happens and be able to observe it. Because otherwise we really are one with our thoughts all the time. You're in any moment, we're thinking, doing, however that works. But now through meditation, it's like, oh no, I get to separate myself from my thoughts and see what's popping up and really be a real observer of myself. So it's almost like having a date with myself, so it's a daily date with myself, which I feel almost sometimes I'm honoring myself. And I keep going back to that place of honor, even when I feel I'm too busy, and I miss it. Like there are days that I miss meditation, and I always notice it. Like, man, I kind of missed my date with myself, and so that it causes me to make sure I don't even miss it the next day. But it's very similar to your favorite part.
Yeah, I love that. I might incorporate that, a date with myself.
Yeah, it's nice because we all need that too, and especially as women, a lot of the women on the call, that, women, we don't give ourselves a lot of time. We really do take care of everyone else and have a tendency to put ourselves last, especially as we have husbands and kids and employees or our work or bosses or whatever. It's like we as women, for whatever reason, are always last. And it's a virtue to take care of others, but it also comes at a lot of expense if we don't have the self-care piece built in. So to me, it's place of honor. Like I get to spend 20 minutes with myself where nobody else gets me but me, and it's that special date time and honoring me and see what comes up, and every day is a little different, and sometimes it's better than others. Sometimes I'm very distracted and in my thoughts, and my mind really does control me, but that's even, so it's a trigger, not a bad trigger, but it's an awareness in its own, like what's really going on that has my thoughts so crazy right now that they're kind of controlling me than me controlling them. And I can usually always like tie it back to something. Oh, well, this is just a time. There really is a lot going on. But without that, you're just in it, and it doesn't allow me that space to remove myself and look at it a little bit and just be like, it's okay. It's like, I'm okay right now. Or like, that's really not okay. That's not sustainable. So I really should maybe take a look at that. But that date with the self is really important.
Absolutely, and I think something important to, approaching your meditation practice in whatever form it comes for you is really the recognition of seeing it as a gift to yourself and not as another thing to check off your list.
Mm-hmm.
Because it can become another thing that you have to do, and then if you don't do it, you feel bad. You judge yourself.
Right, well said.
Seeing it really as a gift, as taking that moment of pause for yourself to improve every other area of your life. And so really, I don't know, I love reveling and relishing in those moments that I give to myself, and just it's kind of like giving yourself a hug.
Mm-hmm.
And so I highly suggest if one is starting a meditation practice, I always, try to preface it with that see this as something that you really want to incorporate and you want to do, not as something that you think that you should do because you know the benefits.
Well, awesome. Well, it looks like for those of you that are looking for the code, it is in the chat box. So just click the link and it will automatically give you the 10% discount. So all of you trying to buy the Muse, go ahead and click the live link and you should be all taken care of. Well, we've gone beyond our hour together. You've been so generous with your time. I love Muse. I love your entire team. I so appreciate you spending your time with us. And you guys are making the world a better place. This is global impact. And every team member I've met with Muse, your all's heart is in this. You are very much pulled by this desire to help people live healthier, happier lives, and it's such an awesome mission. So keep doing what you're doing. I hope to meet you in person. Maybe you can come to Austin one of these days and to one of our events. But you're beautiful inside and out. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and I feel the feelings are mutual. You're doing such amazing work, and it's really, really empowering for me. So I'm honored to have been invited to join you.
Well, thank you. Well, let us know, everyone, if you're still listening. The challenge this month for May Meditation Month is 3 minutes, just 3 minutes. And then I have no doubt that you'll be reporting to me, oh my gosh, I started with 3, then I went to 7, then I went to 10, and so on and so forth. But 3 minutes a day. And I look forward at the end of the month, we're going to check in back with you and see what changes. What did you notice? And maybe at the end of the month, if enough of you do this, I'll do a guided meditation with you. We can do a meditation together and see what happens, because it's really, there's another recent, well, I'll end here, but I need to look this up, but there's another statistic, and I don't know what the percentage is, but with all this latest research, there's a lot more drug addiction today. And so there's this research that's happening, why more drug addiction today than ever before? And is it because drugs more accessible, or what may it be? And there's no real answer other than things are pointing to that drug addictions become such an issue because, which is the irony of this, is that in this time of technology where there's this ability to be more connected than ever, we feel less connected than ever. And so we're alone, we're not connected human to human, we're not present, we're not spending real time feeling loved, loving others, loving ourselves. And so drugs are a really great, we feel a need to escape, and drugs help people to escape, one with prescriptive drugs all the way up to prescription drugs all the way into street drugs. So that's part of what this is together, is coming human to human, and to check in, to experiment these things together, to talk about it, to continue to grow and learn together and be connected. So like I said, thanks for connecting with us. Thank you for your hour plus of time. I hope this information served you. And let me know if you want us to bring Laura back, and we can always go a little bit deeper. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Thanks, Laura. I appreciate you very much. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
All right.